please.
Commissioner Decker?
Here.
Hill?
Here.
Mingus?
Here.
Sutherland?
Here.
Mayor Call?
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the pledge.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and every day that you give us. We reach out to you for your guidance. Please show us which way to turn. We ask that you calm our anxious thoughts and strengthen us while we falter and feel weary. We trust that you are with us no matter where we go and that you journey with us always. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the minutes, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on November 5th, 2024 be approved as printed.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries. All right. This evening under communications, I do have one proclamation to read. Whereas the government of East Peoria, Illinois celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. And whereas there are 34.7 million small businesses in the United States, which account for 99.7% of all U.S. businesses, small businesses are responsible for 61.1% of net new jobs created since 1995, and small businesses employ 45.9% of the employees in the private sector of the United States. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the United States stays in the local economy or in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees in local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas 59% of consumers understand the importance of supporting the small businesses in their community on Small Business Saturday, reporting that that day makes them want to encourage others to shop independently owned retailers and to shop small businesses all year long. And whereas small business shoppers recognize the impact they can make by shopping small, and even when shopping online, most recognize that it is important to shop small businesses, dine in or order takeout from a small restaurant, bar, or cafe. And whereas consumers who plan to shop on Small Business Saturday said that day inspires them to go to small, independently owned retailers or restaurants that they have not seen before or would not have otherwise tried. Whereas East Peoria, Illinois supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And now, therefore, I, John P. Call, Mayor of the great city of East Peoria, Illinois, do hereby proclaim November 30th, 2024 as Small Business Saturday, and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday, celebrating its 15th year in 2024, and shop small throughout the year. So we are home to a lot of small businesses, and I know as much as we appreciate them, they appreciate us. So let's go out and do our part to support them, not just a week from Saturday, but every day if we can. So, and with that, we're going to open it up to public comment on agenda items. So if anyone's here to address the council on an agenda item, please feel free to step up to the podium. Okay. I'm seeing no one. Okay. Very good. With that, Commissioner Hill, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a consent agenda consisting of items numbered 1 through 11. Item number 1, adoption of resolution number 2425-087, resolution to approve payment of the scheduled bills listed on schedule number 13 in the amount of $2,282,868.98. Item number 2, Adoption of ordinance number 4822 on its second reading, and ordinance authorizing a special use for the facade material on property located at 205 and 206 Eastgate Drive in the city of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois. Item number 3, adoption of ordinance number 4823 on its second reading, and ordinance revising the plan for the East Peoria Four Corners Overlay District. Item number 4, adoption of ordinance number 4824 on its second reading, and ordinance approving the preliminary subdivision plot for the Old Bloomington Road subdivision. Item number 5, adoption of resolution number 2425-079 on its second reading. Resolution accepting and approving the lowest responsible bid from River City Roofing for the Centennial Water Treatment Building roof replacement project. Item number 6, adoption of resolution number 2425-078 on second reading. Resolution accepting and approving the lowest responsible bid from Knapp Concrete Contractors, Inc. for the Summit Sewer Line Repair Project. Item number 7, adoption of resolution number 2425-076 on its second reading. Resolution accepting and approving the lowest responsible bid from Walker Excavating Company, Inc. for the Ravine Street Water Main Rerouting Project. Item number 8, adoption of resolution number 2425-074 on second reading. Resolution approving the bulk purchase of chemicals for the wastewater treatment plants from Hawkins, Inc. Item number 9, adoption of resolution number 2425-075 on second reading. Resolution approving the low bid from Kainer Electric, Inc. for the East Side Center Electrical Power Line Rerouting Project. Item number 10, adoption of resolution number 2425-077 on second reading. Resolution approving quote from Ameren, Illinois for installing new electrical transformer at East Side Center. Item number 11, adoption of ordinance number 4816 on second reading, and ordinance updating provisions related to vehicle impoundment notice and hearing procedures under Chapter 11 of Title 11 of the East Peoria City Code, as listed on the agenda for this meeting to be considered by omnibus vote.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
President voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move you that items numbered 1 through 11 listed on the consent agenda be hereby approved and adopted, and the items numbered 2 through 11 having been read once by their title and having laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection be adopted as presented.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mingus. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4817 hereto attached, an ordinance adopting a tax levy for the City of East Peoria Special Service Area 2021A Valley View Knolls Water System Improvement, having been read once by its title and having laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection, be adopted as presented.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker.
Okay, we discussed this at our last meeting, but what we've got here is back in 2021, the Valley View Knolls subdivision wanted to come on to city water. And when doing so, in order to fund that, there was a special service area created. And so we are required annually to create a tax levy. The homeowners were given the choice to pay the tax levy or the assessment in full or have it paid over 10 years. And so this tax levy is for those individuals that did not choose to pay it in full. And so this is the fourth payment of 10, and we have to levy that every year, and the money that is collected from this tax levy goes directly to paying off the loan that was incurred to pay for this improvement.
Very good. Very well said. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4818 hereto attached, an ordinance adopting a tax levy for City of East Peoria Special Service Area 2019A Access Road 6 improvement, having been read once by the title and having laid on the table for no less than 1 week for inspection, for public inspection, be adopted as presented.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mingus.
This is very similar, same thing, except for this Service Road 6, which is down by Leeway Tile. In that area, wanted improvements to the roadway, and at the time, the city was not in a position to do that, so a special service area was created called 2019A for those improvements, and those businesses that benefited from the improvement had the special service tax levy applied to them. And this is the 5th year of 10 for that SSA tax levy.
Well said. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that resolution number 2425-080, hereto attached, resolution approving development agreement with Frontier Hospitality Group for new hotel project on Lot 2 in Riverfront subdivision be hereby approved. Mr. Mayor, I move you that this resolution number 2425-080, having been read once by title and having laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection, be adopted as presented.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker.
And as we talked about this in our last meeting here, the development agreement between Frontier Hospitality Group, they've agreed to put a Hampton Inn branded hotel down in the property in front of what was Granite City. I can never remember Granite City. So it's on the other side of the bridge is from Embassy Suites, and so this this building of this hotel and that space will be an asset to the city, and as well as they'll keep a Hampton Inn property within the city, which we've always had. So.
Very good. Any discussion?
I'd like to say, Mayor, it's nice to see this moving forward. We've looked at a lot of things on that property over the years, and it's nice to have something built and be a benefit to the community and to that area.
Yeah, it'll be a quality development for sure. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4826 hereto attach, an ordinance changing the zoning classification of certain real property located at 111 West Washington Street in the city of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois, be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mingus.
Well, as the council may know here, this is the old Regions Bank, and it's not far from here. It's down it's on the Four Corners. And so the developer that has purchased this property is looking for ways to redevelop that. And one of those, it's currently zone B2, and the request is to take it to B3. And so a lot of times this went to the ZBA, and the ZBA's approval, 7-0. They take into consideration of the like properties in the area, and Wendy's is zone B3, and as well as the town center too. So that's one of the considerations. Actually, for a rezoning, that's among some of the only considerations. The rezoning does not come associated with a development plan necessarily. It can, but in this particular case, the rezoning is consistent with other uses in the area. And so again, the zoning board listed 7-0, but one of the things they did clarify that there would be considerations for traffic, and that this site is restricted by the overlay districts in the area, which also limits auto-oriented issues, and so those out of the gate would not be allowed without going through a special use process.
Very good. Any discussion?
I got to say, Mayor, I'm hesitant. I'm going to support this. I am hesitant, though, just because it is such a high-valued special piece of property, huge amount of traffic. I want to make sure that something that is there that I think would be good for the community. So I am going to support it. Commissioner Hill and I were talking right before this. I have comfort after speaking with him to make sure that we still have some sort of control and wouldn't have something placed there that we would not be happy with.
Yeah, and I echo those comments. Just from my perspective, what we're doing here is allowing the developer a little more latitude than what he has. I trust that he'll bring something forward. He understands the restrictions that are in place through the special use process, depending on what he intends for that property. So while I have reservations, I also want to give him the latitude he deserves to see what he can bring. Any other discussion?
No, all I can say, and that is I'm looking forward to something being done positive with that property, and I'd like to see how it's going to turn out.
Yes, sir. Very good. Roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4827 here to attach, an ordinance providing for the sale of excess city property at 1654 Meadow Avenue, East Peoria, be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker.
We've been talking about this. It started as the coming to the council for the sale. We acquired this property through judicial deed, and then we proceeded through the process of asking the city council for the sale of excess property, so that was granted. We've opened this up for bid along with another property that did not get bids on Bloomington Road, but the property in discussion here is 1654 Meadow. And we received 2 bids, and the most responsive offer was for $12,000 plus $1,000 of closing costs from Josh Hilton of Peoria Handyman Services, LLC. And so one of the requirements is that when we sell a property, we have to get at least 80% of the appraisal value, and this is over the appraisal value of $7,000. So the requirements also for this property and another property we have was to come forth with a plan for remediating and rehabbing the property. And so the plan that was presented would be to rehabilitate this property within 3 months. And so that's all good for the city. It's all good for whether the person lives in it or sells it or rents it. It stays as an important inventory, a home inventory in our city. So.
Very good. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4825 here to attach, an ordinance proposing approval of a redevelopment plan and project for the designation of the East Peoria Riverfront Redevelopment Project area and the adoption of tax increment allocation financing therefore, and creating an interested parties registry, convening a joint review board, and calling a public hearing in connection therewith. Be read at the clerk, or be read at length by the clerk, and that the ordinance number 4825 be accepted on its first reading as hereby adopted as presented.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mingus. Madam Clerk?
Whereas pursuant to the Tax Increment Allocation Redevelopment Act 65 ILCS 5/11-74.4-1 at SEC, as supplemented and amended the TIF Act, the Council, the corporate authorities of the City of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois, the city, does hereby determine that it is advisable and in the best interest of the city and certain affected taxing districts that the city approve a proposed redevelopment plan, the redevelopment plan, and project, the project for proposed redevelopment project area as set forth herein, that the proposed redevelopment project area be designated as the East Peoria Riverfront Redevelopment Project Area, the redevelopment project area as described in Exhibit A and depicted on Exhibit B attached hereto, and that the city adopt tax increment allocation financing for the proposed redevelopment project area. And whereas pursuant to Section 11-74.4-4.2 of the TIF Act, city is required to create an interested parties registry for activities related to the proposed redevelopment project area, adopt reasonable registration rules, and prescribe requisite registration forms for residents and organizations active within the city that seek to be placed on said interested parties' registry, and the corporate authorities hereby determine that it is desirable and necessary that the city create such registry, adopt such registration rules, prescribe such requisite registration forms, and give public notice thereof for the redevelopment project area. And whereas the TIF Act also requires the city to convene a joint review board and conduct a public hearing prior to the adoption of ordinances approving a redevelopment plan and project, designating a redevelopment project area, and adopting tax increment allocation financing therefore, at which hearing any interested person or affected taxing district may file with the city clerk written objections to proposed redevelopment plan and project, may be heard orally with respect to the proposed redevelopment plan and project. Whereas the TIF Act further requires that the joint review board consist of a representative selected by each community college district, local elementary school district, high school district, park district, library district, township, sanitary district, mass transit district, and county that will have authority to directly levy taxes on the property within the proposed redevelopment project area at the time that the proposed redevelopment project area is approved, as well as a representative selected by the city and a public member for considering the subject matter of the public hearing. Whereas the TIF Act further requires that the time and place of the public hearing be fixed by ordinance and resolution adopted by the corporate authorities or resolution adopted by the corporate authorities, and whereas the TIF Act further requires that at least 10 days prior to adopting such ordinance or resolution fixing the time and place of public hearing, the city must make available for public inspection a redevelopment plan or a separate report that provides in reasonable detail the basis for the qualification of the redevelopment project area as a redevelopment project area under the TIF Act, whereas a proposed tax increment financing district eligibility study, a redevelopment plan and project has been presented to the corporate authorities, has been on file in the official files and records of the city since November 8th, 2024, and has since that time been continuously available for public inspection during regular business hours. And whereas the TIF Act requires that notice of the public hearing be given by publication and mailing, and whereas the corporate authorities hereby determine that it is advisable to convene a joint review board and to hold a public hearing to consider the approval of the proposed redevelopment plan and project, the designation of the redevelopment project area, and the adoption of the tax increment allocation financing. And whereas the city expects to incur certain planning and other costs, including costs for professional services, the preliminary expenditures that will constitute redevelopment project costs as defined in the TIF Act, all of which costs are consistent with the program for accomplishing the objectives of the redevelopment plan as included therein, and whereas the proposed redevelopment plan will provide for payment of the preliminary expenditures, and whereas the corporate authorities have heretofore and it is hereby determined that it is necessary and desirable to approve the preliminary expenditures by ordinance or resolution. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois as follows. Section 1, redevelopment plan and project proposed. The approval of the redevelopment plan and project, the designation of the redevelopment project area, and the adoption of tax increment allocation financing therefore are hereby proposed. Section 2, interested persons registry created. There is hereby created an interested persons registry, the registry for the redevelopment project area. The East Peoria City Clerk is hereby expressly authorized and directed to maintain the registry for the redevelopment project area. Section 3, registration rules and forms. The registration rules for the registry attached hereto as Exhibit C are hereby incorporated herein by this reference and are hereby expressly approved. The registration rules shall apply to the registry herein above created for review of the proposed redevelopment plan and project and the associated redevelopment project area. Section 4, publication of notice of availability of registry authorized. Notice of the availability of the registry substantially in the form attached hereto as Exhibit D, the registry notice, shall be published prior to the public hearing in the Peoria Journal-Star, being a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Section 5, Joint Review Board convened. The Joint Review Board, as set forth in the TIF Act, is hereby convened, the JRB, and the JRB shall meet, review such documents, and issue such report as set forth in the TIF Act. The first meeting of the JRB shall be held at 11 a.m. on the 11th day of December 2024 at East Peoria City Hall, 401 West Washington Street, East Peoria, Illinois. The city hereby expressly finds and determines that said date is at least 14 days after the notice of to affected taxing districts hereinafter authorized in Section 8 of this ordinance will be mailed. Section 6, time and place of public hearing fixed. A public hearing, the hearing shall be held by the Council of the City at 6 p.m. on the 4th day of February 2025 at the Council Chambers Meeting Room at 401 West Washington Street, East Peoria, Illinois, for the purpose of hearing from any interested persons or affected taxing districts regarding the proposed approval of the redevelopment plan and project, designation of the redevelopment project area, and adoption of tax increment allocation financing therefore. Section 7, publication of notice of hearing and joint review board authorized. Notice of the hearing substantially in the form attached hereto as Exhibit E shall be published at least twice, the first publication to be not more than 30 nor less than 10 days prior to the hearing in the Peoria Journal-Star, being a newspaper of general circulation within the taxing districts having property in the proposed redevelopment project area. Section 8, mailing of notice of hearing authorized. Notice shall be mailed by certified mail not less than 10 days prior to the date set for the hearing, addressed to the person or persons in whose name the general taxes for the last preceding year were paid on each lot, block, tract, or parcel of land lying within the proposed redevelopment project area. In the event taxes for the last preceding year were not paid, the notice shall also be sent to the persons last listed on the tax rolls within the preceding 3 years as the owners of such property. Notice shall also be given of the availability of the redevelopment plan, including how to obtain relevant information by mail within a reasonable time after the adoption of this ordinance to all residential addresses that after a good faith effort, city determines are located within 750 feet of the boundaries of the redevelopment project area. Notice shall also be provided to those organizations and residents that have registered with the city for that information in accordance with the registration guidelines herein established by the city. Notice shall also be given by certified mail to all taxing districts of which taxable property is included in the proposed redevelopment project area, and to the Illinois Department of Commerce and Community Affairs not less than 45 days prior to the hearing. And such notice shall advise the taxing bodies represented on the Joint Review Board of the time and place of the first meeting of the Joint Review Board, and include an invitation of each taxing body district and the Illinois Department of Commerce and Community Affairs to submit written comments prior to the date of the hearing to the city, to the attention of the city clerk, East Peoria City Hall, 401 West Washington Street, East Peoria, Illinois, 61611, concerning subject matter of the hearing. Each such mailed notice shall include such information as is required by the TIF Act. Section 9, public inspection of proposed redevelopment plan and project. The redevelopment plan and project shall remain available at East Peoria City Hall all times for public inspection during business hours. Section 10, preliminary expenditures approved. Such preliminary expenditures shall be approved as the corporate authorities deem appropriate. Section 11, supersede or effective date. All ordinances, resolutions, motions, or orders in conflict with the provisions of the ordinance are, to the extent of such conflict, hereby repealed. This ordinance shall become effective upon its adoption.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That was a mouthful.
That was good. It's exciting that we keep moving this development potential along as all the words that were stated there. I'm going to just say a couple words and then I'm going to turn it over to Scott for more official. If anybody pulls the packet and sees all the, I don't say the legal jargon as far as describing the where this space is, where the boundary map is, I recommend just going and look at the map. Because what it is northeast of the I-74, and it stretches down along Farm Creek to the river, but then it goes north, what I'm calling north, up Cat Trail to about, I believe, Highview, where Highview Hill comes down. So that's the overly simplified boundary maps. But what we've got here is part of this process. The three things that was in the title, and then with all the reading, that we have to pass an ordinance that declared the public hearing, and I believe that was the February 4th of 25. The second thing that was they had to mention the first meeting of the review board, and that's December 11th. And then the final thing was to make notice that there is an interested parties registry. So that's what this ordinance is doing. It's moving us forward on the TIF district definition in this project redevelopment plan. But I'm going to turn it over to Scott for additional official language.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. I think you pretty much covered it. This is the first step. We talked about this back in September, initiating the city's efforts to look at this area, to create a TIF, to look at this area as well, to bring it in with all the redevelopment that's happened in the other parts of the city, and hopefully move that redevelopment up this corridor next to the Illinois River. So this ordinance basically is a procedural step at this point. It just starts the process. So back on November 8th, the redevelopment plan was put on file with the city, and that's available on the city's website. And this ordinance now sets the wheels in motion. So all the steps, the procedural steps that the city has to go through to establish a new TIF district, this is the beginning of all that. So as you pointed out, this ordinance sets up the public hearing, which is going to be on February 4th. It also sets up the meeting of the Joint Review Board. And just for those folks who don't know what that is, which is probably most everybody, that's a group of representatives from all the taxing bodies that have property in the proposed TIF district. So the schools, I'm sure I'm going to forget, the library, the park district, and sanitary district, the county and the township. So all those taxing bodies will have an opportunity to come and ask questions and hear what the city's proposal is, and then decide whether to support it. So that's scheduled, the first meeting is scheduled for December 11th of the Joint Review Board, which is set by this ordinance. And last, as you pointed out, we set up an interested parties registry, and that's just to, if anybody out there would like to get more information about the TIF district and what the city proposes, there's a process that they can submit their name and contact information with the city clerk so they can be provided all the details and regarding any hearings, and as well as any materials that we prepared for the city to review in the future.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4821 hereto attached, an ordinance amending Chapter 6 of Title 4 of the East Peoria City Code for the purpose of adopting the 2020 edition of the National Electrical Code prepared by the National Fire Protection Association be accepted on its first reading as read by its title, be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker.
Council may remember that back in 2022, we updated our building codes, and we held off due to some questions and concerns on adopting the 2020 electrical code. And so after some time, some of the concerns were availability of products that were specified in that code during the pandemic, and then the supply issues that followed the pandemic. So with those, feeling that those are resolved, and I hope most of the commissioners, if not all the commissioners, have had their questions answered, but we have our electrical inspector, Dickie Young, is graciously here to answer any questions. Our facilities director, Robert Cole, are here tonight to make sure that there aren't any questions in the public or by the council. And we also received a letter of support from Dave Homerin he's president of the Central Illinois Electrical Board, and he supports the city's adoption of the 2020 electrical code.
Very good. So as we open it up for discussion, should there be any questions for either of you gentlemen, I'd just ask that you step up to the podium so you can answer them and everybody can hear you. So with that, I believe both of you gentlemen had some questions possibly. I'll open it up for discussion.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So go ahead and open it up.
It's open for discussion, so.
Okay, I'll jump in here first. I really don't have a problem with the codes being changed for the betterment of safety and our citizens. I have a problem with the code being changed and somebody else writing it, and we don't know what's in it, and then we have to go through it and find out if we agree with everything, instead of just saying, hey, we ran into a snag, we ran into a problem, let's see what the new code is, and let's adopt that if that's what we think is necessary. I've been told that it's too hard to go through every word, and that they pull out the changes, and then we have to read the changes and see if they they're applicable with anything that would cause us a problem. Just like the generator question that we had, and it was well answered. Thank you guys very much for getting back with me, that you wouldn't have to bring your whole house up to code, the new code, if you installed a whole house generator in your house, which I totally agree with. And let me say this. I've been beat on this kind of discussion, I think, twice now since I've been on city council about adopting these things by the thousands of pages. But if it wasn't for us sitting up here fighting for this and also telling everybody out there in East Peoria that if you ever have a problem with a code, come to us, because I didn't read that damn book. It's too big. And there's common sense to life. And I think that, you know, we've worked out from having sheds being fireproof to common sense. You know what I'm saying? We've worked out some electrical things about signs being plug and play and not needing to get a permit to plug a plug-in on a sign. One thing I think is coming up on the horizon, which is outside of this, other than that I was forced to insulate my house when I put my room addition on with spray foam in the basement on the outside walls where the floor joists meet the outside. And now I read last week that banks are now looking at and are not loaning to houses with spray foam sprayed directly onto the wood and anywhere like that, because there is a condensation problem and there's no way to inspect it, because you would have to tear the foam off to get to it, to inspect it. And I'm not saying that that's happening here, it's what I read. And so I think that this commission up here and the mayor, I think, are well informed and open-minded. So if there is a complaint out there, please bring it to me. Please bring it to you guys. Please bring it to any of us, and we'll take a look at it and see if we can't make it work for our community, because what works in California don't work in East Peoria as far as I'm concerned. I'm done.
Very good. Commissioner Mangus?
Yeah, I think Robert answered most of my questions. We talked the other day on the phone. My big concern was exactly what the Commissioner brought up, is if somebody does a home improvement to their house, that they don't, obviously the home improvement, the area that they improved, an addition, a room, whatever, should be brought up to the most recent code. 100% agree with that. What I wanted to make sure, and Robert assured me was not the case, and I appreciate Mr. Young being here to talk about that also, is that the person would have to bring the rest of their home up to the code. And is that correct?
Yeah, it is. What I always suggest, though, is if people don't have fire alarms, I tell them they should put them in. If they don't have GFCIs in their bathrooms, in their kitchen, they should put them in. I don't enforce that they have to, because it's not in the code that way. But I do suggest to them that they should. It's just for their own safety.
So recommendations, not requirements.
Right, right.
And I can live with that aspect of it. And again, I appreciate Robert reaching out, and we had a good conversation. So I appreciate you being here to clarify that, and appreciate the time that we spent on the phone. So I'm good, Your Honor.
Very good. Any other discussion?
I'll say, Mayor, I had a personal, Mr. Young came to my house. We were upgrading our electric service. I thank him for being here. It went back to some of the supply issues. There was a code change, and the meter, the box, had been changed, and we had it ready to go. And unfortunately, it was very difficult to find one. So there are a lot of challenges over the past, well, a couple of years, but just recently I felt that as well. But what I wanted to mention is how helpful these guys are. It was great. It was something my wife and I like to do things ourselves, and they didn't discourage that. They encouraged it as long as we're following code, and we'll call professionals when we need to. But I really appreciate the helpfulness that I felt from their staff, everybody.
Do, appreciate it.
Thank you,
Commissioner Hill, anything?
Nope, nothing else. I appreciate you guys coming out here tonight to answer any questions.
Yeah, appreciate it, gentlemen. Appreciate the work
Thank
you
you.
do, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you, motion carries.
Your Honor, that concludes it for me tonight.
Well, you had plenty. Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Decker.
2 items, Mayor. First of all, resolution number 2425-084, be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois. The resolution number 2425-084, hereto attached, a resolution approving a supplemental Phase 3 engineering services contract with Fair Graham Engineering for IDOT portion of the East Washington Street resurfacing project be approved. Mr. Mayor, I move you that this resolution number 2425-084 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mingus.
Thank you, Mr. Mingus. As most people will recognize, we have an ongoing project on East Washington. This is for the portion from, the churches until veterans, I believe, and the engineering for that. And like I said, this portion is actually paid for through IDOT.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you, motion carries.
Next, Mayor, resolution number 2425-085, be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, the resolution number 2425-085 hereto attached, a resolution allocating $1 million of motor fuel tax funds for the 2025 street maintenance program and confirming and approving 2025 engineering extension agreement with Patrick Meyer and Associates, an associated rate of compensation for engineering services related to the 2025 street maintenance program be approved. Mr. Mayor, I move you that this resolution number 2425-085 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mingus.
Thank you, Commissioner Mingus. It's nice to get this moving. Patrick Meyer is in the audience in case anybody has any questions. This is something that obviously we have to do every year. We've tried to do it as early as possible, because the process for next year starts now. I think you're rating them now, aren't you, Patrick? Is that correct? A long time ago, well before I was here, our city started, in fact, I think Patrick started it, if I'm not mistaken, a plan where they go out and they examine every street in the city of East Peoria and they give it a rating 1 through 10. And when I was first elected, it took the politics out of it. And it was told to me by one of the previous commissioners that instead of people presuming to have their road fixed because of who they were, what they did, or where they lived, anything like that, and it was placed onto a rating system, it was a lot easier to justify. It made sure that everybody was treated fairly and equally as much as possible. I've always appreciated that. It's nice to, when people ask me questions of why their street is not being fixed this year, to talk about the rating system, to make sure that we're able to show that people on one side of the community are treated equally as someone on the other side of the community. When they do that, we receive MFT funds, motor fuel tax funds, every year that help us pay for our road construction. And we've already talked about in the past the impact that electric vehicles will have on those funds, and that is troublesome. It's worrying that how that could affect later. But I did want to make mention, Mayor, like I think it was 2013, 14, we were down to $400 and some thousand a year that we were expecting from motor fuel tax funds, and that was all the city was able to spend. We've really we've come a long way. We are preparing for $1 million of street maintenance, and I don't want to say anything out of turn, but I don't believe that will be all that we'll be spending this year on street maintenance. We're blessed to have a city that's doing well, and hopefully we have made some great improvements in the past couple years. like I said, 2013, 14, we spent less than $500,000 on street maintenance, and this year we spent 10 to 12 million just on Springfield Road.
Yeah.
So it is nice to be in the position that we're in and fixing some of the problems that we should have been working on fixing a long time ago. So the good thing about getting this project going early is then Patrick and Rick and Brett soon will be able to go out for bid early next year. So as the contractors are still hungry, they don't have a lot of projects already lined up for next year, we can get our projects out there first to try to get the best price from the contractors.
Very good. Well said. Any discussion?
Yeah, I've got one thing I would like is it's the rating list to be as transparent and even put it out on our website somewhere. I know that there are factors that that may affect it from year to year. So you might be at this state this year, and due to whatever conditions, whether winter or otherwise, you may still not be much farther up the list because something else degraded faster. So I'd really like to see that list to be as transparent as possible. But Commissioner Decker had mentioned, you know, this council has done a lot towards the road, and this motor fuel tax is just a portion. As you mentioned, we spent, I think it's over $10 million on Springfield Road, and that's not the only projects that we did in the city, besides the maintenance-related monies as well. So we're really trying to address some of these. You know, Pinecrest was a project in the last few years, and the improvements up there. So if things keep going well, this council's been very supportive of trying to make significant inroads and doing Springfield Road now. As long as Commissioner Sutherland doesn't dig it up, it should last last a long time in the state that it is. So with that.
Thank you, Commissioner, for saying that about the rating system. I will say we've done it many times in the past. I can't remember how many years ago was the last time we had a working session about rating. If council would ever like us to do that, we're happy to actually have a public meeting. If not, we can make the rating system available to anybody.
Yeah, I was actually going to touch on that. In fairness to Patrick, he would come before the council in previous years and do a working session and go over the rating system, yes, so everyone had a clear understanding. So we could certainly do that moving forward if the council desires. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I would like to emphasize one more time, if Pat Meyer could let go through Cord Chrysler and tell us what the projects are going to be for mill and overlay, which is the most expensive of the road repairs and resurfacing, because what happened just a couple weeks ago on Arnold Road, it's a brand new resurfaced road, and guess what I did? I dug it up twice in less than a week and a half. Now, whether my guys would have said, yeah, that main needed to be replaced, or parts of it need to be replaced, I can remember this happened so fast that we didn't have an option but to leave our pipe there, and the road was being resurfaced before we knew what was happening. So I'm hoping that the right hand would help the left hand, and I can understand your bids and stuff like that, but make sure your bids are far enough out after we accept them, get them out early, and maybe turn them on later in the summer or fall and give our guys a chance to get in there and do their work, because it takes me 3 months to get an EPA approval. I mean, I've already lost 100 days. If you showed me the street now, I've already lost 100 days.
Just so you know, we publicly released that information, but that's not really a Patrick responsibility as much as it is internally with our department head. So I'll address that to make sure we have a better line of communication, because in fairness to him, these are things that are years in the making, and I understand where you're coming from. You've made that clear up here on a couple of large projects that we decided we had funds for, so we went ahead and took care of them without making sure that that was fully communicated. Just real quick, to Commissioner Decker's point on electric vehicles, I've had this discussion specifically with Senator Kaler in that I hope the public understands where we're coming from as a local government, because this $1 million, this is projected revenue in the form of motor fuel tax funds that come back for street maintenance purposes that we all pay when we go and gas up our vehicles. With electric vehicles, keep in mind the state charges a higher registration fee, but we get 0% of what the state collects on electric vehicles comes back to maintain our roads. So please understand that. And I think our friends in Springfield can do a better job of ensuring, if that's the direction they want to go by pushing that agenda, they need to make sure that everybody pays their fair share to help maintain our roads and not to leave the local government out of that conversation. So
It was just noted in the, I think it was in the news tonight, where there's some initiative at the state level to have 1 million electric vehicles on the roads by 2030. So that's right around the corner. Again, I don't know what that impact is on our motor fuel tax and the loss of, obviously, the fuel that goes into those vehicles, but that's an initiative that's it's out there.
yeah. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Sutherland.
I have 2 items tonight, sir. Yes. First one is, be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that resolution number 2425-086, hereto attached, a resolution authorizing and approving the purchase of a new water line tapping machine and associated equipment from HydroStop for the city's water department be approved. Mr. Mayor, I move you that this resolution number 2425-086 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker.
Okay, the price of this is $38,092, and they are absolutely right. Once this was bought in 1965, and once that many decades goes by, the chances of you finding parts for it are nearly impossible, and that's why the Mueller tapping machine from 1965 is going to end up in a scrapyard, and we're going to have a new pipe tap on our Rossiter.
Man, we were just breaking that thing in, too. Just kidding. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting, aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
I gotta figure out who. Decker, I'll fill it off later. Okay. This next one, I may not be the person to read this off or try to explain it like I would. I'm not a very good orator. So this is my second one, and this is my baby. Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4819 hereto attached, an ordinance authorizing the submission of a proposition to the electors of the city on the question of whether term limits shall be imposed for the mayor and commissioners of the city, be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and laid on the table for public inspection until the city council meeting on January 7th, 2025 for the second reading.
Is that it? May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mingus. Now, Commissioner Sutherland, told you 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yield the floor, and I'm going to respectfully request that you let the elected officials as well as the public understand why you're adamant that you wanted this on the agenda and the reasons behind it. It's all yours.
Okay. Well, and I respect your I think it's demand upon me to explain everything. I really don't have one good reason. I have lots of little reasons. In my history and my past as a citizen here and in business here, I went into business for myself in 1975. And I've ran into a lot of problems dealing with the counties and the cities, not just this one, but all around us. And it just seems like when you're entrenched like a tick, you're entrenched. Now, I'm not saying all ticks are bad or anything. I'm just saying that there's a reason why 76% of Democrats agree with term limits. There's a reason why 82% of independents agree with term limits. There's a reason why 89% of Republicans agree with term limits. And some call it squatting in office. I've said this from the beginning when I sat down in this chair, that I truly believe that if you can't set your department, whatever you're over, in a positive way in 12 years, then you're either ineffective and someone else needs to take your place, or you're lazy and you have no good ideas. We could discuss whether this would be a problem-solving thing by bringing new blood in forcefully if somebody doesn't, go up the ladder or run for another position or just quit. And special interest groups, we really don't have a problem like the big cities do, but we still have people that's got power and money to give to our campaign funds or not give to our campaign funds, or make our life miserable on us, or come out against us like in a normal election. But if it's term limits, it's really hard for them to buy influence, because you're either going to fly or not fly. And I also think that if we had term limits, the new blood, whether they were possibly good for the position or not, is creating some enthusiasm of getting the vote out because of all the door knocking going on. I think that our commission has done a fantastic job. I've always told everybody, I'm on my 5.5 year, I think, right now. And I don't know if I'm going to do a 9th year or run for a 9th year to 12th, but I will never go over 12 years. Never. I don't care. I don't care how old I am or how old I ain't. I would never go over 12 years. I'm not saying that term limits are for us. What I am saying, it's time to bring it up for discussion. Talk about it for 2 meetings. I'm hoping that I can get this passed through my council just to be able to talk about it for 2 meetings, and then our vote on whether it's going to be on the April 1st ballot would be January 7th. I believe it's April 1st, would be January 7th. So we have a month to talk about it, and we still have a vote to say no against this. I think that turning down the discussion is a perfect example of why term limits may be something to look at, because why would somebody want not to have a discussion about term limits? I'm not saying that I agree with them. I'm not even saying after the discussion I'll vote for them. But I think it's time that we talk about it. Then and only then, if it does make it to the ballot, I'm wanting the citizens to decide by an up and down vote in April 2025. There's a couple questions I would like to ask before anybody speaks. I would like to ask our city attorney that I read in here that it's only for 12 years in one position, and then 12 years as mayor if they run for mayor. That's a total of 24 years. I thought that we had discussed this about if you decided not to run for 4 years after your 12th year, you could come back and start your 12 years all over again if that's what you wanted to do and the citizens wanted.
Well, Commissioner, right now the ordinance was written that you only get 3 total terms.
I know what it was written.
We can, obviously, that can be amended.
Can we do that at this meeting? Can we amend that at this meeting? Because the way I understand it, if I don't amend it at this meeting, then by the time we change it next meeting, we're going to miss the January deadline to put it on the ballot, if it even passes. It's got to pass through today first.
Well, the way, Commissioner, well, there's a couple of comments there. One is, yes, we could amend it today, and that's someone can make a motion to do that, the terms, that it's basically 3 consecutive terms. So if you have a break in service, then you can come back and serve 3 more. Right now, it's written that you basically just get 3 total in either office for your lifetime. So that could be amended. That could be amended tonight, or it could be. This is not an ordinance that requires 2 readings. We've set up for 2 readings at your request, and that's typical. We usually do 2 readings. Sometimes, as we saw with the TIF ordinance, we'll go ahead and do 1 reading. This ordinance does not require 2 readings. We could provide an amended ordinance at a future meeting that could be read at length and voted on at that time. So that we have a couple. You as a council have options on how you want to handle that. So we're not under the gun per se. We could read it. To answer your question, we could just have an amended ordinance read at length on the January 7th meeting, if that's your request.
Well, let me follow up a question here. Are you saying, and this doesn't start till 2027, if we vote on this in January, it doesn't affect any of us or anybody till 2027, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, because here at the city with this commission form of government, you're all voted on the same 4-year cycle. There's no one up for election in April 2025. So yes, you're correct. The next time, if this was actually approved in April 2025, it would not go in effect until April 2027, or the election. You know, when the officials are seated after the election in April 2027.
So in fairness to the other elected officials, I am going to open it up for discussion. I think they deserve their right to weigh in on it as it stands today. And
I've got a question I can start with. Commissioner Sutherland, those numbers that you gave, those percentages, were those local numbers, national numbers, state numbers?
National.
And what was the source of those numbers? I mean, where did you get those?
I pulled them off the internet.
Okay. Because, you know, one of the things I sit here and again, not knowing the reason behind it, I have not been approached by a single East Peoria resident that has voiced the desire for term limits at the local level. And although Commissioner Sutherland mentions that you can park in the office, I think at a local level, you are more accountable and held accountable by the citizens than you might be at a state and a federal level, more so. So, you know, I struggle with whether the need here or to have a discussion, you know, that's different from what we've got laying in front of us, because it would be interesting, and I would want to see a movement of our citizens that are interested in having this go a referendum route versus throw a referendum question out there and, you know, roll the dice on who's going to show up to vote that particular time versus to have an overwhelming or a large enough group from our citizens saying we would like to have this as a referendum. So I struggle with that no one has ever mentioned it to me at the local level. I think even though you could park in a position, looking at our history, and most of us have been in and around the city for most of our lives, we've seen many different long-serving commissioners and mayors. And I think it could be. I'm not saying every one of them were great, but it could be a detriment to our community by I don't say forcing people out. And whether there's truth, I think, you know, when I look at the department I've had for the last, again, 5.5 years, that, you know, you begin, and you've said yourself how slow government moves, and that is, there's truth to that. A lot of times things you want to get going, especially if it's funding related. I mean, we've got something going now with the streets, but there's other development here that just doesn't stop after 12. So you may be doing a good thing in 12 and still have other things to contribute. So right now I have reservations of the burning platform of why we want to put a referendum out here at this time.
Very good. Commissioner Decker?
Yes, sir. I have some of the same reservations. I see it as term limits are one thing because the idea, I understand, is to limit someone from being able to become powerful enough that they're unlikely, impossible, whatever you want to say, to be removed from office. And I think Commissioner Hill made a good point. I think we've all seen that with some state and federal elections where we see people that we believe probably, whether they have a war chest of money, they could buy all the advertisement, whatever. But I personally have never seen that in a local election. A perfect example was 2007's election here in East Peoria. We had a gentleman that had been on the council for a very long time, both as mayor and mayor for a short term, but not, I don't think officially, but councilman for a very long time. And he would fit that definition of being ingrained. He would have he would be one that had been in office long enough, and he did not win election. And I think that if you say that we want to take away people's right, I see it as a right to run for office, well, that limits the residents. What if they want that person to continue to serve? I've always seen us as having term limits. If the residents decide that your term is up, they don't vote for you again. I think we are accountable, especially a situation like this. I mean, residents can come up to us any meeting and talk to us face to face. They can criticize us. They can praise us. But the residents in East Peoria have been very engaged. Now, I say that because those are my personal concerns. That also, how far are we going to go with this? If we start limiting who can and who cannot run for office, where are we going to go? If there is someone in the community that is very powerful in one way, whether they be, I don't know, business owner or something else, then should we limit them from running for office? I think that's scary. I think that's a slippery slope. I think we should be careful limiting people from being able to serve their community. Also, we've all been around elections where there are only 4 or 5 with the mayor's position running for re-election. Well, what if that's one of the years where, it's the 12 years, not as much city council, but especially some of the others, but it could happen in city council as well, that we may not have the people wanting to run. I don't see a huge line every time we talk about running for office. I'm cautious. I'll get off that soapbox because I know tonight is not about our personal opinions, but here's my problem. I don't think it should come from the city council, because if we did support this and if we put it out there, even if we disagree with it, I believe it gives the appearance that we believe in it. If it's passed by this council, I can't help but think that the public will see it as, well, the council supported it. And I think that's difficult. Something like this, I feel, needs to, if I would support it if the residents brought it forward and wanted it to be on. I'm cautious for it to come from us. And I don't know, maybe Scott will tell me that it has to come from us, but I'm I'm cautious because as an American, I don't want to limit anyone from being able, as long as they're not a felon and they're within the appropriate age, I don't care if they're black, white, male, female, whatever they are, if they have a right to run, I think they should be able to.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Mangus?
Yeah, thank you. So I seconded this because I wanted, and I feel like we are having a little bit of discussion about it right now. So I did that because I respect Commissioner Sutherland. I've known him pretty much my entire life, and I wanted him to be able to have his, he said this is his baby, and it has been his baby. I wanted him to be able to have it publicly discussed, at least by the council, and have everybody's opinion stated on it. With that being said, I agree with what the other commissioners, and I don't think the mayor's spoken yet, but he will spoke, I think, probably with what he's going to say. I think I have a couple problems with term limits, personal, and then I think there's also a logistical with the way the city of East Peoria does their government. I think term limits, especially at the local level, it takes the power out of the people to make decisions at a certain point. So after 12 years, and Commissioner Decker said this, and I'm probably reiterating it, after 12 years, the citizens want somebody in office. They no longer have the power to put that person in office. And I think that that's truly what a democracy is the people have the right to put who they want in office and to take who they want out of office. And the way we've been operating, the way we've done it for however many years has worked. And I don't see a need at this time in the city of East Peoria to implement term limits. The other thing that I think is important to note as far as the city of East Peoria is we are all elected at the same time. So if this were to go into effect and we were to go 12 years more, and I'm not saying that that necessarily happened, maybe we all go one more year and people are elected and you get to 12 years, you could in theory have a complete turnover of the city council, which I do not think would be good for the city. I know coming in, there were 3 new commissioners when we were elected, and Mayor Call and Commissioner Decker were here, and having known what's institutional knowledge is a real thing, and having that institutional knowledge when things happen is very valuable. And I don't think that us putting the city in a position where we may lose all institutional knowledge in one day is putting the city in a particularly good spot either. So we don't have tiered where 3 of us are, 2 of us are elected and 3 of us are elected at the same time, and that in theory right now we would be one more election from 12 years, and I could see all 5 of us rerunning and all 5 of us being elected, and then if this were to play forward, then all 5 of us would be gone and you'd have 5 brand new people on the council, which I don't think would be good for the operation of the city. With the type of government we have, where we are each in charge of a department, there's real power there. I could make an argument, probably too much power a commissioner has, but that's a completely different conversation when it comes to elections. So I respect Commissioner Sutherland. I wanted to make sure that he had his opportunity to voice his opinion. I understand where he's coming from. I just don't see the need for it in the city. I think the people have the right to speak, and the people should continue to have the right to speak. If they want to elect people for 4 years, that's fine, 8, 12, whatever. And then I have the logistical issue too that could really be a detriment to our city. So I'm going to oppose this, but I want to at least give the commission the opportunity, and those are my reasons.
So I have a tremendous amount of respect for all of these gentlemen up here. Not going to kind of rehash my position. I've stated it openly with not just Commissioner Sutherland privately, but this topic has come up in the last 5.5 years on this floor, and I think I've stated my position in that there's local, state, and federal government. And local government, and I would argue this all day long, has the largest impact on every citizen's everyday life. And unfortunately, oftentimes, not enough people are engaged when it comes time for an election. At the local level, typically, look at what we just went through, had a 75 or 76% voter turnout in a presidential election. But come next spring in a general election where it's local level type of elections, oftentimes that number dips well below 50%, which is sad. But at the end of the day, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, serving in this position is a privilege. Every day I get up, my family knows how I'm wired. I'm here to serve the people because they elected me to be in this position to serve them. I never forget that. term limit is every election cycle. I don't see a need for term limits at the local level. And I go back to 2020, a phone call between myself and Governor Pritzker when we looked to reopen in a phased manner. And I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, I understand why you're reaching out to me. I have layers of insulation. You do not. I can't imagine being a mayor during this time. And people have no idea some of the difficult decisions that we make each and every day. And what he said is profound in the fact that you're absolutely right. State and federal level has so many layers of insulation. I can't pick up a phone. I highly doubt there's anyone I can call right now that would take my call. I have to go through people. That's not the case at the local level. People call us all the time. They email us. We respond. I go back. I take this council up against any council in previous years, and I'm not slighting anybody, but I look at what's been accomplished by this group working together, not having personal agendas, and more importantly, serving in a full-time capacity, doing dual roles, which the Journal-Star guy left. I don't get paid for both, and I shouldn't get paid for both. That was something we all agreed on 5.5 years ago, and that's something that comes up every 4 years. Should we all be elected back into these positions? That council makes that decision. I say that because in my eyes, every 4 years, our citizens do have a voice. And if they think we're doing a good job, then you get another 4-year term. They don't think you're doing a good job, you're gone. And I respect that decision, and I've never forgotten that. So, I struggle with the fact that, you wanted this discussion. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate Commissioner Mingus having enough respect we put it on the agenda. He seconded it so we can open it up for discussion. But I personally think this discussion needs to end. I am going to call for a vote. I'll turn it back over for any final comments, but I view it as at the local level, we have term limits in that people can vote us out just as easily as they voted us in. And there's no layer of insulation protecting any single one of us from that. And I do go back into, I do want to mention staff. That's what I started to go down that road with being a full-time mayor, in that I have enough respect for staff to understand that these folks give 100% dedication to the people we serve every day. And I think we owe it to them as well, understanding, this is a career position for them. We're elected. This was never a career thing for us to be elected, but we have to have enough respect for them. To Commissioner Mingus's point, let's say we are all in the same election cycle, there's no question. After 12 years, we're all out of those positions. 5 new people come in. I mean, what does that do for the folks that live this every day and have maybe given 10 years, maybe given 20 years? We have some employees that have been with us over 30 years. And I think they're dependent on having good people that make solid decisions. We're policymakers. They enforce those policies. And at the end of the day, I think we owe it to our citizens to stay out of this. If the citizens want to bring this forward, I've been elected for 9.5 years, 4 as a commissioner and 5.5 as the mayor. And never one time in those 9.5 years have I been approached by a single person saying, I think there need to be term limits in East Peoria. And I go back to the time on the council as a commissioner when a former mayor was jaded with the city attorney at the time and some members of the council, and he was calling for a change in the form of government. And that option is out there for the public. He is now a citizen. So to do that, he circulated petitions and he fell short of the number of signatures required to bring that forward. So he came to Mayor Mingus at the time and said, hey, is there any thought to the city council making sure that we can get this on the ballot? And we had a very hearty discussion, and I can remember engaging him just like I'm going to engage you tonight and say, that needs to be driven by the people, not by this council. If the people speak and that's what they want to see, let them bring that forward. I don't think it's any place for an elected person to bring that forward when they have every right and they should be able to speak for themselves. That's just my personal opinion. So I will not be supporting this tonight.
See, it didn't hurt to discuss this, did it?
No? Very good. Roll call?
Commissioner Decker?
No.
Hill?
No.
Mingus?
No.
Sutherland?
Yes.
Mayor Call?
No.
I have 4 noes and 1 aye, Your Honor.
Very good. Motion fails.
That is it tonight, Your Honor. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Mingus.
Got 2 items tonight, Your Honor. First item, resolution number 2425-082. Whereas the Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 120/1 requires the city to give public notice of its scheduled regular meetings at the beginning of the calendar or fiscal year, and whereas the city shall post public notice at City Hall and send copies in the manner provided by law, and whereas the city desires to approve of such notice in the form attached hereto and incorporated herein as attached. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois, that Section 1, the City of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois adopts hereby the public notice of its regular meetings in the form attached. Section 2, the City Clerk of the City of East Peoria is directed to post a copy of the public notice contained in this resolution in the City Hall and to supply copies of this notice in the manner provided by law. Section 3, the resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval in the manner provided by law. Mr. Mayor, I move you this resolution number 2425-082 be adopted as presented.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Any discussion? I'm hearing none. Roll call?
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Second amendment, Your Honor, resolution number 2425-083, whereas a vacancy exists in the East Light Theater Board as a result of member Ryan Beck retiring, and whereas the Honorable Mayor John P. Call has recommended the appointment of Paul Whittington to fill the vacancy of the East Light Theater Board, and whereas it is in the best interest of the City of East Peoria to confirm and approve such appointment, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that the appointment of Mayor John P. Call of Paul Whittington to serve as one of the city's members on the East Light Theater Board to fill the vacancy on such board until he is removed by hereby confirmed, be hereby confirmed and approved, and that this resolution number 2425-083 be adopted as presented.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. It's pretty self-explanatory. I've known Mr. Whittington for a long time, since he was my principal at East Peoria Community High School, so he'll do a great job.
Yeah, I appreciate his willingness to step up, and this serves as a perfect example of the conversation and discussion we just had. We've had this opening. Ryan Beck retired a year ago, and this board seat's been open for a while, and I appreciate anyone willing to serve on any boards or commissions we have. When there's a vacancy, we announce them. If there's anybody out in the public that's interested in serving our community in any of those capacities, please feel free to reach out, but Paul will do an absolutely great job for us, and I appreciate his willingness to serve. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just was going to say, Mr. Whittington is, holds a lot of community pride, and I got to know him when my kids were in high school, and you'd hear him every day, proud to be a Raider. So, I think the pride that he has in our community, he'll well serve us in this capacity.
Well said. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries. That it, Commissioner?
That's it.
Very
That's all I
good.
have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Public comment. Anyone wish to address? Man, she did not hesitate. She's been waiting patiently.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know what to do, but I'll tell you who I am. I'm Kim Smith. I'm a Gold Star wife. Paul was killed in action back in 2009 here in Illinois. Okay. I was down at the riverfront, right behind Walmart. They did a documentary this weekend for Paul down there at the documentary. We was at my house, then we went down here to the flagpole. Unbeknownst to me, there was no flag on that flagpole. I was told, back when it was, you put it up and did all that the flag would fly 24/7 on their honor of them. His bricks down there, the OIF is down there, everything's down there. So when I got asked to do the documentary, they wanted an outdoor site, so I sent them to that site. It was a disgrace for me. It was sad for me. The grass was grown. There was no flag up there. And I just was embarrassing. And I can't explain to you how that made me feel. And a flag is to be flown at all times on a memorial. So I was told, contact the office, so I called Monday morning, because this happened on Sunday. I called Monday morning, and the guy that I spoke to, I did not write his name down because I was fuming. He told me that they took it down on Veterans Day, November last week, and that they take it down. And he told me that it's over $500 to $1,000 to replace that flag, so they take it down. Okay, you guys don't have that kind of money to keep a flag up all the time down there? I mean, that, you can see why I'm mad. Then I was told that I should contact Eastlight, I can't get his name either because I was fuming, for the grounds. We did not take the grandkids down there, and thank God we didn't. I have pictures. You have a little play unit down there. It is all falling apart. The slide that the grandkids would have went on is broke at the bottom. Had they went down that slide without us even knowing it and hurt themselves, you'd be sued. I mean, I'd be suing you because you'd hurt my grandkids. I don't know what, it's like I get slapped in the face. These two men that told me this said, oh, I should have notified you that we were gonna do the documentary. Why? You all don't notify me on anything. Why should I notify you? I didn't know I had to notify anybody. I allowed them, they said the documentary is gonna go on, and I mean, they were upset, but they understood, and I'm more hurt because it was for Paul, and I don't know, you do better, I don't know. You're one guy in the office who deals with the riverfront down there. When he told me that it was like $500 to $1,000, that's a slap in my face. Paul gave his life for that flag. He can fly it, you should fly it any time, you know what I mean? I don't care how much it costs you. I'm sure you have the money to keep replacing it. I just don't understand why.
I would like to, while we're face-to-face, address this. I was not aware that the flag was taken down. I was down there for an event on November, you were as well. What was that, the 5th? We had an event with 700 people down there. We stood and did the national anthem of that flag. So that's news to me that it's down.
Yeah, I have pictures.
Ma'am, I believe you. Understand, that flag flies 24/7 down there. We're super proud of that. What they told you about the cost is true. We do have more than one flag. So I will personally look into why the flag was taken down, while it's still down. We typically carry more than one flag. And when that flag is frayed, it is very expensive. We replace that flag. We take a lot of pride in that memorial down there. And I can appreciate where you're coming from. And I'm sorry you had to experience that. We will look into that. We absolutely will do better. I will speak to that playground equipment that's been down there since that park was built. To be quite honest with you, it needs to be removed.
Yeah.
I have a lot of concerns from a liability standpoint.
Oh, yeah, because had my kid went on there, one of these grandkids back here, yeah, I would have been suing you.
But here's another thing that you may not like coming from my mouth next. I do not think the city should replace it with playground equipment. To me, I would much rather build up that memorial area down there I'm a veteran. I'm a combat veteran myself. I have a lot of respect. I was here, ma'am, when they recognized your husband. I remember when we named a street.
Yeah,
the city named a street.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
mean, I do. But it's like a slap in the face to him and a slap in the face to me. I did not know that flag wasn't going to be there. I would never send that documentary crew down there. I would have never done that. I have a flagpole in my yard that we just got resurrected into there. They could have did it there. You know, my awe and shock was pissed off. I was pissed.
Sure.
I still fuming.
Yeah,
because
no,
you don't get it. You don't understand. I mean, I just.
Well, I actually do understand. I mean, I'm not in your shoes where I lost my spouse in the line of duty, so I can't speak to your personal feelings, but I agree with you about the flag, and we will do better. And I can tell you, A flag will go up, and a flag will be flying 24/7 as long as I'm sitting in the seat, and there are no excuses. And I will accept responsibility for that. I will look into it, and I will personally get back to you on that. You have my word.
Thank you. That's
Yep.
all I had.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Public comments? Non-agenda item? Nope. All right. Very good. Comments from the council. Commissioner Decker.
Yes, Mayor. First of all, a couple things that I've been contacted about recently or saw and kind of dealt with. First of all, I know there are places around town where we would like for the residents to not have some of the things in their yard. But what I will say is, and Robert's here, he's worked hard for many years with the entire department to try to stop those things from happening. Unfortunately, we do have constraints, and we can only go so far, and people do comply. Our code enforcement people have done a great job of dealing with every complaint that they've been given. But I just want to say to people that have complained to me and others that I've heard about, they try hard. They are bound by law, though. We can't just go and kick somebody out of their house because they're not keeping their yard the way we want them. We have to go through steps, and I think it's important to recognize that because they have rights as well. And then the second thing is, just came up a couple weeks ago, Commissioner Sutherland's crew had worked on a sewer project on Bluff Street, and there were complaints about us not allowing or leaving access to the end of Bluff Street to the trailer park. It was not true. They did leave access. I actually went down that day, and I can stand up for the men and women that worked on that. They did leave access. The conditions changed. It began raining, and the access that was left became softer than they, I believe, expected. But I wanted to say tonight how thankful I was, appreciative that, Cord Chrysler came out on the weekend and took a look at it with me and immediately jumped on it. The sewer crew they have a huge job, and I was told about it. They started working on it. They worked on it on a Friday, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Every time they tried to cut it off and replace the section, it crumbled even farther. So unfortunately, it happened the way that it happened. They did leave access. Conditions changed, and they got a remedy as quickly as possible. So, Commissioner Sutherland, I know that's going to be a big bill to fix that road. I heard it might go the entire length of the road, but the crews do a good job of dealing with those situations when they come up. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hill.
Oh, I was going to, do you have an announcement for the parade?
I do.
Okay, then I'll skip that part.
Okay.
I happen to think of, as I was mentioning the other house that we did get a bid on, and we put out, there's another home, it's a rehab home. There's conditions and hooks in it as far as coming to the city with a plan, but it's on Bloomington Road. It's across the street from the 520 Cafe, roughly, and it's in need of repair. But there's an appraisal amount, and we have those rules, and we're going to be posting and trying to make sure we get the word out to see if we can't get somebody to rehab that house. Again, the structure's there. I'm not an inspector, but I went through there, and I think structurally it's there. Somebody asked me about the roof. I said, I don't know. I didn't really actually look, but the other home that we had out there definitely had a roof leak because the ceiling had collapsed. This one, the ceiling has not collapsed. So again, it's an opportunity, investment opportunity or a home. But the home comes with some constraints that you have to come with a plan and get a hold of the city, look for it. We posted it on Facebook to open that bidding up, and the bidding went out for the other one, and we got bids on it. So again, another attempt at trying to keep housing property and not making it an empty lot that has no value to anybody, including the city. So with that, I'll yield.
Very good. Commissioner Sutherland.
Yes, I'd like to talk about Bluff Street. That was a surprise. the sewer collapsed down toward the trailer park end of the street, and which is a couple, 2.5 blocks off of Meadow Avenue. And it was in a bad corner, and it was a little tough to get around, you know, but no time was it blocked off for very long. When the backhoe was in the way, I was there when the operator moved his rig and lifted it up, got out of the way. Somebody might have had it set for 30 seconds to a minute from time to time, not very often. But we did line the sewer, which ended up, I don't want to say saving us money, but in this case, I'm an anti-liner in a residential setting. But in this case, it probably saved us $350,000 of, that's not even include repairing the road, digging it up, and putting the sewer in manually from the top instead of relining it. The sewer that dilapidated was made out of concrete. And years ago, they thought that concrete would survive just about anything. And right after the war, they used a lot of different items, and concrete was one of them. Well, come to find out, the lime in the concrete reacts to a lot of the chemicals that we put down our sinks and put down our toilets and in our washing machines. And it just crumbled in your hands when it was dug next to or on top of. And I'm surprised that they found a good spot to start the lining at. So they repaired the section that collapsed and then went back to the manholes and lined all the way down. So that job is complete. And the other surprise job that I complained about last meeting is going to be starting any day. They're waiting on structures, I understand, to be made, and that's in the woods down behind Robine, down in there where the creek had washed the sewer out. And that's it, sir. That's all I got.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Mingus.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Just a few quick announcements. Obviously, we've got the 40th Annual Parade of Lights this Saturday night, November 23rd. It kicks off at 6:30 p.m. The roads will shut down at 6:15. 40 floats for 40 years. So we've added 2 new floats. We've announced one of them is a replica of the wreath that sits atop Fond du Lac Drive, which was actually lit by the Festival of Lights Queen, Miss Annabelle, tonight, I think around 5:30. She went live with that. That was supposed to be last night, but the weather did not cooperate. So, but one of the floats will be a replica of the wreath. The other one is a surprise. So you want to see it, show up. I tell you what, we did a survey that included grade school, high school, adults, and surprisingly, the top 5 ideas for new floats, 90% of them were in the top 5, I should say, of like 40 ideas that were floated. But this one's pretty exciting, so
how many
going to be
new?
a fun night.
How many new?
2 new.
2 new.
2 of the 40 will be new this year. And then we've also, we'll be handing out 3,000, first come, first serve, foam light sticks, and they're pretty cool. I got the sneak peek at those last night. So we'll have some of our East Side folks going up and down the parade route before it kicks off, handing these out, and then our police officers, as they disperse to their duty stations, they'll have some as well and hand them out. And we're just asking for the public, let's have fun with them. There's actually 3 different options of lights. You can have some that flicker. There's a little button on the end of these foam sticks. But we're asking everyone to join in the fun and light up the parade. We listened closely to public input. There'll be music this year. You can either listen to it on 106.9, which is no commercials, all music, but we'll actually have speakers on the floats this year as well, playing the Christmas music. So we're super excited about it. No rain in the forecast. It's going to be a little nippy, but that's okay too. We'll have fun. And then for the first time in 5.5 years, the Chamber has listened to me, and they're bringing back the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. So the 40th Annual Mayor's Prayer Breakfast will be Friday, December 6th from 7 to 9 a.m. at the Paradise in the Grand Ballroom. The keynote speaker for this prayer breakfast will be Pastor Tim Harkness. He's with Summit Point Church up there off Pinecrest. Appreciate his willingness to step up and be our keynote speaker. Tickets are $35 per person, and you can reserve your spot through the Chamber of Commerce. You can either call them at 309-699-6212 or shoot them an email at epcc@epcc.org. And then last but not least, a week from Saturday on November 30th is the 2024 Felipe River Trail Classic. And that's a 4-mile run for those runners. It's downhill. It starts at the old Cross Point Church up there off the trail, and you run downhill to the Fond du Lac Park Admin Building. It's a 4-mile run, all downhill. And transportation is provided. If you park in the Park Admin Building, they take buses up and drop people off at the start line. Or you can choose to walk. There's a 2-mile walk along the trail. And I think the walk begins at 8:30, the run's at 9. $25, and you can register online. Just go to the city's website, cityofeastpeoria.com. Go under the festival. It may be on the main page, actually, but if not, just go under Festival of Lights events, and you can register there. That's always a good turnout, and those folks have a lot of fun. So, and I think that is going to be a wrap. We've been here long enough, so I would seek a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn until Tuesday evening, December 3rd, 2024 at 6 p.m.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Mingus?
Aye.
Sutherland?
Aye.
Mayor Call?
Aye.
All present voting, Your Honor.
Thank you. We are adjourned until we meet again.